A lie takes more effort than the truth because the execution of the lie needs to be flawless. The truth is easy because you can't dispute cold hard facts. A lie compounds. That's what all of this is. UraniumOne, Gulf Tanner, the memo, it's all cover for one treasonous chain of events. Okay, so here's the thing with this scandal. I'm only referring to it as one, even though it's comprised of many. We don't even need the worst stuff on these elites because of the whole uranium scandal. That's enough. First thing I guess to cover is the Navy. They buy the uranium and give it to the Naval Nuclear Propulsion Program. This really started to take shape in 1998 when the FBI was put in charge of all of the incoming highly enriched uranium, which came in the form of fuel rods and was only going to the Navy. This allowed the president to control highly enriched uranium coming into the country. In 2005, Bill Clinton worked with Clinton ally Frank Giustra to obtain a uranium mining contract in Kazakhstan for Giustra's company Eurasia Energy. Only months later, Giustra donated $30 million out of the blue to the Clinton Foundation. The Canadian-based but Russian-controlled company UraniumOne then merged with Eurasia in 2007. The Clinton Foundation in total ended up getting almost $150 million from these deals. In 2008, Bush was set to sell U.S. uranium to Russia, but he backed out of the deal, or I should say the Senate pulled out of the deal after Russia attacked Georgia. Then in 2010, Obama reopened this uranium trade negotiation.
And President Obama was overheard giving Medvedev a very candid political assessment of his ability to deal with the major problems between the U.S. and Russia.
This is my last election. Yeah, and after my election, I have more flexibility. Yeah, I understand. I transmit this information to Vladimir and understand.
And sold uranium to Russia with the help of Hillary's State Department, although ultimately the fault falls on Obama for signing off on the deal. He can't play stupid here. He had to know what was going on, and he had to approve it. Now, the U.S. mining operations are located in the Midwest region of the country, mainly Wyoming, Colorado, Utah, Arizona, Nevada, and New Mexico. It was also a small bit of Texas, but not a significant amount. That means that the only people who had to be convinced to allow uranium mining were senators in those states, thanks to the Senate Armed Services Committee. They're empowered with legislative oversight of the nation's military, including the Department of Defense, military research and development, nuclear energy, specifically when pertaining to national security, and other less important things. Since the early 2000s, these people have been selling off more and more land to use for uranium mining. I think it's important to understand the process which uranium goes through to be processed. So first, it's mined out of the ground. Then the uranium ore is crushed down, run through a purifying process, and it's turned into yellow cake. This is now basically dust. The byproduct of this process is called depleted uranium. This depleted uranium is supposed to be downblended to far less than weapons grade. Downblending is the process of diluting U-235, so uranium isotope U-235, which is the active isotope in a nuclear reaction. Highly enriched or weapons-grade uranium is 20% or higher U-235. Usually power plants use uranium that's about 0.3% U-235 and 99.7% U-238. So remember Mark Lambert? He paid bribes to the Russian official Vadim Mikarin, who worked for 10x. Now, 10X is the Rosatom subsidiary also connected to UraniumOne as well. Lambert was creating fake invoices to justify the money transfer, okay? Lambert's company is called Transport Logistics International, and this is the company that I believe was transporting this uranium from the mines in the Midwest to the processing plants in the central U.S. and then off to the eastern ports, because Lambert was indicted for Russian bribery or bribing Russian officials. Now, this is where the megatons to megawatts program comes into play. It's also called the U.S.-Russia Highly Enriched Uranium Purchase Agreement. It was successfully completed in December 2013, and the purpose was for the U.S. to buy Russian weapons-grade uranium from leftover warheads and then downblend it to be used at nuclear power plants. But what it seems that Hillary did was halt the downblending, take a lot of the highly enriched uranium and send it to the Y-12 facility in Tennessee, which is the largest uranium holding facility in the country. So from there, it was being shipped to the coast, I believe by Mark Lambert, unless there were other people involved with the shipping. And it was getting loaded into shipping containers and or nuclear subs and sent to foreign nations, most likely shipping containers. This is the part where we thank God for the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, because they came in and said, hey, you got all this highly enriched uranium that was supposed to be downblended and sold off to U.S. power plants, but now a ton of it is missing. So what happened? That's when Obama, Hillary, and their associates scrambled. Now, why do I think that the U.S.-Russia Highly Enriched Uranium Purchase Agreement is the program where the weapons-grade uranium was swiped from? It ran until 2013. Lambert began trucking this uranium in 2009. The amount he was trucking went up every year until it just spiked in 2013. Then the Nuclear Regulatory Commission came in and asked where the missing uranium was, and everyone just froze because they didn't think they'd notice missing uranium that fast. So to quickly recap the picture at this point in the story, the largest storage facility in the U.S. for enriched uranium was short because it was being sold off through several ports along the eastern seaboard. Port Canaveral is one of those ports, and now we're talking Gulftainer. The Center for Security Policy has been doing an excellent job breaking down this part of the scandal, okay? So Gulftainer USA is a United Arab Emirates shipping company that's a subsidiary of the Crescent Group. In 2015, Gulftainer was granted a 35-year lease at Port Canaveral. This lease came after backroom talks in 2013 and 2014 called Project Pelican, involving Bill and Hillary and several others that I'll get to here soon. The parent company of Gulftainer USA, as I said, is the Crescent Group. The founder of the Crescent Group is Hamid Jafar, and he still owns it today. His brother and business partner is Dr. Jafar Dia Jafar, better known as the father of Saddam Hussein's rogue nuclear weapons program. So the group that now has access to a vital national security hub, Port Canaveral, on the eastern United States, is co-run by the guy who was Saddam Hussein's head nuclear scientist. Who would make such a deal? Well, we need to actually walk back to 2009 when Obama made the critical and controversial 1-2-3 agreement to supply the United Arab Emirates with nuclear capabilities as long as they didn't enrich their own uranium. After Obama signed the Iran deal shortly after, the UAE stopped abiding by the 1-2-3 agreement and began enriching uranium. Like no one saw that coming. Now, who would give such a company access to a U.S. port? The CEO of Port Canaveral, John Walsh, a Clinton Global Initiative member. Through this port, they were trafficking weapons-grade uranium and various arms that were tracked to terrorist organizations. So if the arms are ending up in the hands of terrorists, including those responsible for the attack on Benghazi, you can't tell me that uranium is being surveilled by the good guys, okay? This is probably also why she didn't want to tell the truth on Benghazi, and she didn't want an investigation afterwards. It would be found that she helped secure the deal and profited off the deal to ship uranium and weapons to dangerous foreign nations. It would be found out that she was connected to the weapons used in the Benghazi attack. The Project Pelican deal in total ended up yielding roughly $70 billion for the Clinton Global Initiative. And Obama ties into all this through Tony Rezko and his company Resmar. Now, Rezko was famous for being a Chicago slumlord because going back a few decades, Obama was the lawyer that helped Tony Rezko acquire a $100 million government contract to build low-income housing, which Rezko then failed to upkeep, and he just pocketed the unspent cash. Valerie Jarrett also helped with this deal, and she was Obama's senior White House advisor. And Bill and Hillary also knew Tony Rezko. So now let's talk about Trump. Trump was the monkey wrench that caused this entire plan to implode. Hillary was supposed to easily win the election, and she didn't. But Obama tried to put fail-safes in place that are now being exposed. To tie together this part of the scandal, GCHQ was hired by the Obama administration to wiretap Trump Tower, and they were paid through Fusion GPS. The Obama administration also played a key role in the illegal wiretapping and the dossier, and they also paid for it through Fusion GPS. So now we're looking at a complete circle where the dossier was paid for by the same people who hired GCHQ to tap Trump Tower over the dossier and the meeting with the Russian lawyer that they paid for, they orchestrated, and they did. The reason for all of this, the FISA warrant, the wiretapping, the dossier, the Russian lawyer, the 24/7 news cycle of Trump-Russia, it was all to stop Trump from coming in, discovering what's going on, and tearing it to the ground, specifically with uranium, the whole uranium scandal. UraniumOne was birthed from a shortage of downblended uranium that was supposed to go to power plants in the US, and instead it was sold off as highly enriched uranium, so weapons-grade uranium, to other nations. Steve Mnuchin of the US Treasury discovered some strange withdrawals post-election and then post-inauguration. One was $120,000, one was $150,000. There were several that were just tens of thousands. There were like 30, I think, that were just tens of thousands. And they were labeled as payroll, but they didn't coincide with any payroll patterns. So this money was payroll, just not legal payroll. So